Hello and welcome to our telesummit and podcast series on preventing cancer. I'm Jenny Lamorgan, owner of greenwomanstore.com, where we enjoy creating educational tools like this podcast series on topics important to us as women. And I'm excited to be here with our guest, Beth Greer. She's an environmental health expert and best-selling author of her book, Supernatural Home. And Beth will share some practical and affordable ways to eliminate carcinogens and other toxic chemicals in our everyday products. And Beth has had some firsthand experience with cancer herself. She eliminated a sizable tumor in her chest without drugs or surgery by making small but significant lifestyle shifts. And she'll show you how to make safety and health an issue when you're choosing products, and how to understand the vague and misleading labels on food and personal care products, especially, and cleaning products. So she'll give you a greater awareness that what goes in you and on you and what surrounds you radically impacts your health and your vitality. This telesummit is about our health, and it's about politics and what we know and what we need to know about cancer. It's about preventing cancer and medical practices, and it's about our environment and our science. And we've invited several women experts whose passion it is to educate and encourage other women toward health and political action. So let me introduce you to our guest today. Beth Greer is known as Supernatural Mom. She's one of the foremost experts on sustainable and toxic-free living. She's an award-winning journalist, green holistic wellness educator, and innovator. Beth is the author of the best-selling book, Supernatural Home, endorsed by Deepak Chopra, Ralph Nader, one of our favorite people in the world, and Dr. Joseph Mercola. She shares her wisdom through live events, the Huffington Post columns that she writes, webcasts, and personalized in-home detox audits and trainings, which I know are really useful. Beth is going to enlighten us about the things you can avoid in your home in order to stay healthy and to prevent disease. Welcome, Beth Greer, and thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all your important educational work in the world.
Well, thank you. It's really great to be here, and I'm so happy that you're putting on this summit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's much needed. It's certainly impacting a lot of our personal our families and our lives personally. So let's start with your personal experience with cancer and what inspired you to heal through detoxifying your life. How did you come to that place in your life?
Right. Well, I just want to clarify that I did not have cancer. I had a tumor, a very sizable tumor. It was 5 centimeters. It was deep in my chest cavity. And I had it biopsied, and there were no cancer cells. But my doctors advised me. They kept saying, well, any minute, this could turn cancerous, and so you need to have surgery. And so I decided not to, but I just wanted to let everyone know that it was not cancer, but it was extremely painful and very scary. I mean, any kind of diagnosis where you have a mass in your chest is terrifying, So in my case, 3 top surgeons couldn't agree on how to remove the tumor. One wanted to cut me in the front under my collarbone, the second one under my armpit, and the third one wanted to go in and remove one of the ribs in my back and get to access it. Wow. And I just thought, this is insane, And well, since I felt like I had some time, even though the pain was horrific, I felt like I had a bit of time to kind of center and kind of figure out what to do next. And I decided, to tackle this on my own and to take charge of my own health. And in thinking, what can I do to, what's the first step? I realized, well, I need to simplify. And the thought was that the easiest and most accessible thing to do would be to simplify my food and drink, because I realized I thought I was leading a healthy lifestyle. I thought I was eating healthy, but when I looked at my food, I realized I was eating processed food. I was microwaving my food. I was eating out a lot at restaurants. And so I decided to do something kind of radical, which is to eat food that contained no product labels whatsoever. and I went on a juice cleanse. I actually went down to the Optimal Health Institute in Lemon Grove, California, just near San Diego, and enrolled in their program. I was there for a week, and wheatgrass, colonics, just raw vegetable juices. And I noticed that in just 3 days that the pain started going away. I had been taking sleeping pills because I couldn't find a comfortable place to lay my head down. It was just so painful. So after 3 days, I didn't need sleeping pills anymore. And
wow.
When I came back from the week, and I decided to continue on this path of just eating whole, real foods, raw, and mostly raw initially. I'm not raw anymore, but I went out and got a food dehydrator and a juicer, and really, my husband was very supportive as well, and so we did that for several months. And then I took a look at what I was putting on my skin, because our skin is not the barrier that we think it is. It allows in microscopic chemicals, and I looked at the labels on my deodorant, my shampoo, conditioner, moisturizer. They have just paragraphs worth of chemicals in there. I know many of us, we read food labels, but we sort of forget to read the labels on our personal care products. And that kind of surprised me. And so I switched out to all natural. I started using baking soda for a deodorant, for example, which works great, by the way. And then I looked at what was surrounding me. And my household cleaners, toxic. If you look at a bottle of Windex, it say right on the label, hazardous to humans and domestic animals, right on the label. And so I switched out to baking soda and hydrogen peroxide and vinegar to clean, and got a new organic natural mattress. And in 6 months, the pain was gone, which was so fantastic. And then 6 months later, I had the tumor scanned, and it had not only shrunk. I thought, well, maybe it had shrunk because the pain was gone. It had disappeared. It was gone.
My goodness. And so that's in 1 year's time.
It took a year, yeah. And, what I realized was it took years and years of accumulation. I believe this tumor came about environmentally, from the toxins in our food, in our water. I got a water filter, by the way, in our personal care products and the like. And it took years to build up. And so, I always tell people, like, it takes time. It's not like toothpaste, for example. I remember when my daughter was little, she was having a sleepover, and her friend and her were getting ready for bed, and they were giggling and laughing, and they were in the bathroom, and I kind of eavesdropped on the conversation. And the friend said to my daughter, "Ooh, what kind of toothpaste do you use? It looks so weird." And my daughter said, "Well, it's an all-natural toothpaste." And then without missing a beat, she goes, "And what are you using, Crest? Don't you know that could kill you?" And the little girl started crying, and I ran in there and tried to, say, "Look, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you." But, we prefer to use natural toothpaste. And what I tell people is it won't kill you right away. But, for me, it took 50 years to develop a tumor. So and I'm noticing that people are younger and younger are getting sick, and there's some really easy, simple things you can do to prevent illness, and it starts right in your home.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. And what you're talking about is that body burden that you mention on your website about all of the unregulated and untested chemicals that comprise, what we take in on a daily basis and a weekly basis and a yearly basis. And
that's right. And it affects our livers. We can't process it all. So the good news is that our bodies are self-healing, and if we clean up the environment in our bodies, in our homes, then it gives the body a chance to detoxify and let go of that body burden.
Wow. And what do you think is the most important room in our home to start eliminating those toxic chemicals?
Well, I always say that the kitchen is the place to start, because that's where we have the most control over our food and our water, which I want to talk about in a minute. But I really think that a room that most people don't really pay attention to that much, and I think it's really key, is the bedroom, because we're spending, a third of our lives sleeping in bed 8 hours a night, and lying on a mattress that, if you're sleeping on a conventional mattress, is probably emitting some pretty toxic chemicals that you're breathing in every night. So a good thing, a good place.
Including the fire retardants. Did you come across, in your research, the fire retardant toxic issue with those products?
Absolutely. There's the flame retardants that are sprayed in couches in particular, and then there are some in our mattresses as well. Now, I know in California they just passed a law that said now we have a right to ask for furniture in our couches, for example, that don't contain flame retardants. So it's a step forward, but you have to know to ask. So if you go into Macy's and you're buying a new couch, they may not be forthcoming in telling you that this has flame retardants. So you need to ask.
And I know that wool products are naturally flame retardant, so that's another way to go too, and feel like you've still got that natural kind of protection for your family in regards to house fires.
Right. Well, that's true. And I tell people who don't want to buy or can't afford to buy a natural mattress that if they want to get a mattress topper, they can get a topper that goes on top of the mattress of wool and organic cotton. And those are natural flame retardants. They also help keep, dust mites away. So that's a good thing, too, because a lot of people, dust mites can be a big allergen for a lot of people.
That's right. And wool is cool in the summer and warm in the winter. I love wool.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
All right. And what other rooms are full of these opportunities to detox our lifestyle?
Well,
the kitchen.
The kitchen. I was going to say the kitchen. And one of the things that, I think a lot of people are not aware of are antibacterial soaps. And if you see the word antibacterial on the label, it means that it contains a chemical called triclosan. And triclosan is actually a pesticide. And studies have shown that triclosan throws the endocrine system out of balance. And a new study just out of South Korea said that it triggers the growth of malignant breast cancer cells. So they found this happening in live mice, actually. So dial soap, for example, or soft soap, or anytime you see, sometimes you'll see even on a bottle of Windex, it'll say antibacterial. It has triclosan in it. And the really disturbing thing that I've noticed lately is that it's in also Colgate Total toothpaste. So a lot of dentists are handing out this toothpaste, and you really need to pay attention to. They're not aware of it. They're not studying this in dental school. But think about that. When you take a homeopathic remedy or something, or put something under your tongue, it goes right into your bloodstream. And here you are with a toothpaste that contains this toxic pesticide, and we don't need it. Doctors are saying just plain old soap and water works. Also, many deodorants contain triclosan. So if you look at Ban Roll-On or Secret or Right Guard, they have it in there. So, as I mentioned earlier, baking soda is a great natural deodorant. I put it in a salt shaker, and I just sprinkle some on the palm of my hand and put it under my armpits, and good to go for the whole day.
Wow, that's very nice. That's very good. Yeah, it's important that we sweat too. I think that's been recognized now as an issue for breast cancer, in particular when we use the antiperspirants and then wear underwire bras. We're really closing off that natural circulation and natural detoxing of our bodies.
Yeah, I like skin brushing too, and that helps the circulation and also helps facilitate sweating. So, do you know about skin brushing?
I don't.
Oh, okay. So what it is it's a dry boar's head brush that you can get at any, most stores, natural food markets, but you can find them, I'm sure, like Walgreens and places like that. and you brush your skin before you get into the shower, and it helps exfoliate and increase circulation. And you can do it under your armpits and around your breast. So I think it's really an excellent thing to do. I think it's an old Ayurvedic technique.
That sounds like it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's been around for a really long time, and it's great. I mean, initially when I started, I've been doing it for years, but when I first started, it hurt a little bit. My skin was kind of sensitive, but now it just feels good.
And are these special body brushes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're made from natural boar's head bristles, but they're they're soft. They're not like hair.
Like I'm thinking a hairbrush.
Yes, a soft hairbrush.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And what are some ways that are inexpensive? Because I know whenever we think about going natural or organic, we're always, the price tag always can scare us away. So what are some inexpensive things we can use that are non-toxic, as far as even household cleaners? Right.
So what I mentioned, what I did was, hydrogen peroxide, baking soda, white vinegar. So I have recipes in my book on making different household cleaners, just really simple stuff. You can just take 2 spray bottles and put one in hydrogen peroxide and one white vinegar and spray down your countertops with that. But I have recipes for like oven cleaners and things to get rid of mold. But these things have been around forever, and they totally work, and they're very non-toxic. And just, if you do buy household cleaners that are natural, but, pay attention to the word fragrance on the label, because the word fragrance is a catchphrase that manufacturers use, and it can contain up to 100 different synthetic chemicals in that one word, fragrance. And so a lot of household cleaners, in addition to our deodorants, and I'll tell you a story, like one of my clients, what I do is go into people's homes almost like a toxic detective and find out what's impacting their health. And so this client had a chronic cough for 2 years, and she said, when I go to a hotel, I don't cough. It's really odd. And I thought, well, hello, there's something in your home. Meanwhile, she was on inhalers and codeine cough syrup the doctor had put her on. And I walked into her bedroom, and there it was, the scented candles. And I was just amazed, and I could feel my throat starting to tickle, And I said, this is the culprit right here. And she's like, oh, my God, no, I'm not getting rid of my scented candles. They were a gift, and they're so relaxing. And, we had this big tug of war with me trying to get the scented candles out of her house. And I said, let's just try and experiment, just, for a week. Let's see what happens. And I put them in a bag and took them out. And she called me a few days later, and she said, it's amazing. My cough is gone,
Wow.
And it's just like sometimes people just are not connecting the dots, especially where they're living. They just don't even think that this particular thing could be impacting their health. And it's such a simple thing. And so, fragrance is just a huge thing. It aside from coughs, it can trigger migraine headaches as well. So just want to look for something that's made with pure essential oils.
Right, and just the word fragrance, they in perfumes and that kind of thing, they don't have to tell us what the ingredients are.
That's correct. They don't.
There's no heads up, but I think just that word fragrance itself is a big red flag. And I think that, a lot of products that say they're natural, but they're using fragrance, then, we need to back away from them. And like you said, just look for those essential oils, natural oils of lavender, chamomile, whatever. But the word fragrance is a definite red flag.
Also, if a fragrance lasts a long time, you can be sure that there's something called phthalates in them, and those have been shown to trigger, immune response and cancer. So I remember I went to a salon. This is before I'm using like natural products, and the woman said, "Oh, this is an all-natural product line," and as soon as she put it on my head, I could smell the fragrance. It was really intense, And I said, wow, that really smells strong. And she said, yeah, it's going to last for days, you know.
Oh,
and then
my goodness.
and it did. I remember I came home and my husband's like, what perfume do you have on? It was just coming from my hair. So, yeah, you want to just really pay attention to that. I remember that they used to have that, gee, your hair smells great, you know, for shampoo years ago.
Yeah.
And you can be sure that was, that had some pretty strong chemicals in there.
Well, you know, I think they do the same thing with dryer sheets. You know, they advertise it, you know, and I think it's true. You know, you can smell it in your towels. You can smell that stuff. Even soaps, you know, laundry detergents. You can smell that days and days later.
That's right. And, you know, speaking of those dryer sheets, those are really, really toxic. And, you know, they're getting on your clothes as a residue, and that's touching your skin. And so it's not only is it going into your lungs, but you're actually getting it into your bloodstream by going through your skin. So, you know, especially if you're sleeping in pajamas or your children are, and you have the fabric softener or the dryer sheets, and you're sweating at night, it's like a nightmare. It's a chemical cocktail that's, you know, just you want to avoid.
Right, and the air fresheners as well. You know, all of that stuff. They're just everywhere.
Air fresheners. Yes, they're very big triggers for asthma, allergies, headaches, again, and we just don't know. Like we talked earlier about the body burden, we just don't know that, you know, let's say you use 5 or 6 different products on your skin, your hair, and then you've got the air freshener going and the antibacterial soap and all this stuff. It just starts to really build up inside you, and it prevents your body from detoxing, which is what you want, you know, and I believe that's how we get ill, when things kind of get stuck inside of us.
Right. And I think children and elderly folks, and also people with multiple chemical sensitivities, where their bucket is just full. You know, they're very, very sensitive, and oftentimes they will experience neurotransmitter symptoms, you know, with the fragrances, whether it's, you know, laundry detergents or dryer sheets or whatever, hairsprays, all of that. So
all of that.
I think, in your experience, have you seen that children are more susceptible to these fragrances and synthetic perfumes?
Absolutely, and they're so tiny too. I remember, you know, going to someone's home and the mom was saying to the child, "Okay, it's time for a bath," and the child started crying. And I've never seen, because my daughter just loves water, and most children love taking baths and splashing. And the baby started crying, and she said, "I don't want to take a bath because my skin itches afterwards," you know. And apparently, we went into the bathroom, we saw, you know, the bubble bath she was using. It was highly fragranced, and it had these irritants in it. And the baby, you know, the child, she was like 4 years old, was getting rashes on her skin. So, something to pay attention to. Children are very susceptible.
Right, and I think one of the groups, I don't remember if it was the Environmental Working Group or Women's Voices for the Earth, one of these groups forced Johnson & Johnson to take the synthetic lavender out of the baby shampoos. And, you know, just use real lavender.
Yes,
so, you know, I think with public support, you know, and public pressure and consumer pressure, I think we can change some of these policies.
That's true. We need to be aware. And you know, I know that Johnson baby shampoo, you know, they had formaldehyde in the processing, and so that, I think they're working on getting rid of that as well. So it's interesting, in Europe, European Union is much stricter than Americans in terms of allowing chemicals into their products. And so when companies want to sell to Europe, they reformulate their products. So they actually change the formula to adhere to their guidelines. So even something like Kraft macaroni and cheese, for example, here uses artificial colors and artificial food dyes that can impact, you know, our behavior. When they sell it to London, if you go to London and pick up Kraft macaroni and cheese, it won't have FDC yellow number 5 in it. You know, it'll have a natural food coloring in it.
that goes for a lot of personal care products. It goes for a lot of products that are on the shelves here in the United States, but they just aren't allowed in other countries. And Europe,
that's correct,
as you said, has a lot better standards. So
yeah, so we have to be, until our government sort of catches up with Europe, we have to be the ones to pay attention. And that's why, excuse me, just getting educated with these summits that you're doing, reading books like my book, Supernatural Home. You know, I have just great information about safe products to choose, and it's so easy. There's such easy, simple things that you can do. You just have to become aware.
Right, and start reading those labels.
Right.
What can you tell us about EMF radiation from our cell phones and computers and laptops and iPads and even our hair dryers and kitchen appliances? Again, Europe doesn't, or at least England, I think, doesn't allow children to use cell phones. But
right, I know there are certain schools that are taking Wi-Fi out in Europe, but here they're yeah. So what I tell everybody is, if you have Wi-Fi on at night while you're sleeping, unplug it. You know, if you can get a wired computer, better. But if you need Wi-Fi during the day, fine. But when you're sleeping, you want to have a really restful, peaceful sleep sanctuary. And so I would take out any, you know, don't sleep with your iPhone next to your head. A lot of people do that to use it as an alarm clock, but you can put it as a into a airplane mode, for example, and much safer, and you can still have your alarm go off. But take out any cordless phones from your bedroom. Those emit very high fields. And, yeah, just be aware. And, you know, obviously don't put your cell phone up to your ear for long periods of time. I mean, it's better to use a headset or put it on a speakerphone. Mm-hmm. You know, we just don't know. There are studies being done, long-term studies, but we just don't know. We're kind of like an experiment. It's kind of like what happened with asbestos, you know, back in the day when they finally said, or cigarettes even, that it was harmful to our health. So I believe that the same thing is happening with cell phones and cell towers and all this stuff. We're being bombarded, and we just need to kind of unplug whenever we can.
I agree. And of course, it's hard to do sometimes when we have our busy lifestyles. But if we can take some of these steps to decrease the electromagnetic radiation that our bodies are subjected to.
Right. I mean, at the very least, at night, unplug. You know, turn off your Wi-Fi. And I'm concerned about some of the baby monitors, even, you know, that are right in the cribs next to the baby's head. I've been in homes, and they had high fields. Yeah, and same with like air purifiers. I was in someone's home, and the little boy had headaches for years, and the mom had placed the air purifier right next to his headboard, and didn't need to be that close. So we moved it, you know, 6 feet away, and she called me the next day in tears saying his headaches are gone. And, you know, it's just...
Right, and it's not that we do any of this stuff intentionally, it's that we don't know, and we assume that the products on our shelves are safe. You know, that's the job of the FDA and our government and our elected officials. And I think they're just falling down. They need some falling down on their jobs, you know. And I think that we need to educate ourselves and put a little more pressure in all of those places. So thank you for your role in educating us. Can you talk a little bit about organic food? It's always, to me, it's always worth the extra price. It's so much cheaper to prevent cancer than it is to try to heal it.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked me, because that's one of my, you know, big things that I'm always telling people to choose organic, because there's been so many studies now with pesticides causing so many problems, including cancer. And so organic, there's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 on Environmental Working Group. You know, look at those fruits and vegetables. You know, I would never eat a non-organic strawberry. that you can't wash the pesticides off. The pesticides are injected into the root system, and it's in the flesh, and non-organic apples, for example, have a ton of pesticides on there. Mm-hmm. So it's just, there's some great. You can go to the farmers market, for example. I like to go sort of the end of the cycle. So if it's like from 8 to 1, I get there at like 12:30, quarter to 1, and the farmers are sort of giving away bags of vegetable fruit because they don't want to take it back home with them. So
that's a good way to get organic on sale.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah,
you get like a big bag of broccoli for $1,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, really, there's food colorings, and the other thing I wanted to mention was preservatives, like in bread, for example. I have a loaf of bread that I travel around with when I give talks. It's over a year old, and it has a preservative in there, and has not a speck of mold on it. What is that doing to our bodies and our children's bodies? It's
right.
It's pretty amazing. You'd think that a loaf of bread should last a few days, and this is over a year.
Wow, that's just not natural.
No.
I know. All right, well, let's talk about filtered water and unfiltered water and tap water, and which one's better, and what alternatives do we have? Right.
Well, the Associated Press did a study across America on our tap water, and they discovered benzene, chlorine, heavy metals, plus pesticides in there, as well as a large amount, in significant quantities of birth control pills, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, Viagra, estrogen, I mean, you name it. It's unbelievable. So this is what we're drinking in our unfiltered tap water. And bottled water, don't think is, that much better. There's things that are leaching from it, like, BPA, but even if you find bottles that say BPA free, they contain something called BPS that hasn't been tested and no one's talking about it, but that's what they're doing. They're putting something called BPS in it. And what they discovered, there was a study that came out recently that they said that these plastic bottles, if they're exposed to UV light, either like sunlight or like even like a baby bottle UV sterilizers, that they found it released synthetic estrogens. And I know that a lot of breast cancer tumors are coming, from estrogen. So, and synthetic estrogen. So, getting it from these plastic bottles is not great. The industry is not really regulated. There's bacteria found in some bottles. Some bottles will just be tap water that maybe has been filtered minimally. It's from a municipal water supply. So what I like to do is get a water filter on your tap water, and then you're good to go. And then I fill up either glass or metal water bottles to take with me on the road, and not use plastic. I just would prefer not to use plastic at all.
And I think that's one way to really get these hormone disruptors out of our bodies and out of our families' food supplies, to not use plastic at all and not let our food touch plastic,
right?
Including our water and our juices and that kind of thing. Water's really got to go. I love mason jars. I love all of these new options that we have for glass.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're great. There's glass with some protective coating on it so that it prevents it from breaking, and it's the way to go. And it's not that hard, and it's cheaper than buying bottled water. Over time, if you invest in a good water filter, over time you will save money in the long run, and your health.
And your health, that's right. And I know that when we talk about personal care products and cosmetics and things that we use on our body, we assume that they're tested for safety too, but I just don't see it. And one thing that I've learned recently is that when we put something in our body, our liver has an opportunity to filter it. And then we just, through our urine, we just get rid of some of those toxins. But when we put something on our skin and on our body, it goes directly into our bloodstream and then directly to our organs.
That's
and
right.
So,
and the liver.
Yeah, and
You're right.
so if you can talk a little bit about these products once again that we're using on our bodies.
Well, yeah, the moisturizers, the sunscreens, the deodorants, the toothpaste, all of those, you want to get as natural as possible. Coconut oil is a great moisturizer. I've just found this argan oil that I'm liking a lot on my skin. I wash my face with oil. I put the oil on my face, and then I take a washcloth and it takes off my makeup. It takes off mascara. It's great. So all those things. I mean, think about all the products that we're using every day, from your makeup and makeup remover and your, the products you put in your hair. Aside from your shampoo, like you're using products to make your hair bouncy or straight or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, just pay attention to the amount of products you're using and just sort of simplify and find the ones that work for you. They're out there. There are some great products out there.
And maybe just changing a product a week. Each time we go out shopping, just try to change one product a week. It doesn't have to be a big, huge impact on your budget.
That's right. Pick your lipstick, for example. Just try getting a new lipstick for a month. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you'll see at the end of the year, and that's what I tell people to do in terms of organic, even eating organic food. Pick the food that you're eating the most. Let's say dairy. I really believe that if you're eating dairy, it should be organic because the cows are injected with growth hormones and antibiotics and all that. And so dairy would be a real key because it gets stored in the fat. And so milk, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, things like that. Pick that one category to start, and then slowly you can start switching out to other things like your peanut butter. Peanuts are very highly sprayed with pesticides. So start slow. I know it could be overwhelming. Some people just feel like, oh my God, it's too much. But if you just take small baby steps, you'll see that it's easier than you think and fun.
It is fun. And I think, in some communities, you really do have to change the store that you're shopping at because some of these stores, everything that's on the shelves is on the TV commercials. And those are the problems, those are the companies that are really not watching out for our health. So I think sometimes you really do have to search out more natural food sources for our weekly grocery shopping trips.
Yeah, and then ask. Sometimes I shop at Trader Joe's and they have some good organic things, but sometimes, I was looking for organic almond butter and they didn't have it. And so you put in a request, and if enough people start requesting, then they'll start stocking the shelves with what you want. They want to please you. You're the consumer. So.
And we have a lot of power. I know recently I've learned, too, that women actually decide how 85 cents of every consumer dollar is spent. And there's a lot of power in that, how we spend our consumer dollars. And so taking that with us, taking that power with us when we're shopping makes a lot of difference in the products that we're going to have in the near future, I think. So.
Right. And I guess just to leave people with the thought of just sort of take the blinders off and don't expect that just because it's on the store shelf that it's safe. Start really just reading labels, and even if you have to bring a magnifying glass with you, sometimes I have to do that because sometimes the print is so small, And
Thank you for mentioning that. That's important.
Yeah. There's another little trick that manufacturers are doing. This really flipped me out when I discovered it. Let's say you get a bottle of mouthwash, so Listerine I was taking a look at, because I tell people, try to find things with as few ingredients on the label as possible. So Listerine had like 4 ingredients. was thyme and menthol, eucalyptus, and I thought, oh, this is good. And then I see this little tiny print that says peel here, and then you peel it back, and then underneath there's 20 other chemicals and all this other stuff that they had to sort of disclose. But it's really hidden and very misleading. So I found that on a lot of products. And sometimes they don't even say peel here, but if you start picking away at the label, it peels back, and then you'll see all the other stuff. So,
wow. So
yeah.
it's really, it's all in the fine print, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Beth Greer. Your name is twisting my tongue. You've given us so many tips and tools for healthier living and really for living longer. I think you've certainly done that for yourself. Congratulations on healing your tumor.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. That's quite an accomplishment. And then taking that experience out into the world and sharing it with other families. I think I thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I just want people to know not to be so scared if you get a diagnosis. There are ways to boost your immune system and heal from disease naturally. And I hope that I can be of help. So thanks so much, Jenny.
Well, thank you. And just for all these ways to reduce our toxic load and and prevent as much of these diseases as we can. It's a lot easier to prevent it than it is to try to heal ourselves of these cancers. I know. So thank you very much, Beth Greer. And you can find out more about Beth's work at her website. It's www.beth, Greer, GREER.com. And you can sign up for her newsletter, and you'll receive her information on the 5 things in your home that age you, because certainly disease is an aging process. And definitely Beth's book, Supernatural Mom, is available at http://supernaturalmom.com. And you can get to either one of these sites by going to bethgreer.com. And be sure to catch her blog on the website, and you can follow her on Facebook and on Twitter. She's at Twitter at @supernaturalmom. I love that.
Great.
So thank you again, Beth, very much for speaking with us today. And
Sure.
Beth is available to speak at your events, and you can contact her again through her website, bethgreer.com. She provides a tremendous array of valuable strategies, insights, techniques, and proven methods to radically transform your health and your vitality, and we've heard a lot of those here today. So thank you again, Beth, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day and your schedule to join us. I hope we've informed and inspired you in many ways that improve your health and your longevity. If you're looking for new ideas and the latest information on preventing cancer, please try to catch more of the podcasts in this series. And please share these interviews with your family and friends. You never know who you may be helping. And I hope you will take some time to make healthy changes that you've heard about today a part of your life. Keep listening. Bye for now.